Okay, welcome everybody. Happy Wednesday. My thought for you today, have any of you guys been watching the Olympics? No? One? A little bit? I've been watching the replays because I am never really available during the time when they're doing the whatever, but apparently if you go to NBC's online thing is you can watch replays of, what's been going on. So I'm kind of a day behind the live events and things like that. But of course you hear some of the headlines and things. And so my thought for you today is about the stories of what I feel like my my yogic thinking through the eyes of Olympic athletes happening yesterday. But the main takeaway for it, right? The main thought is that nobody gets to define the meaning of your life except you. No one and nothing gets to define the meaning of who you are except you, right? This is one of our fundamental teachings of yoga, is that our big question is, who am I? And there is literally only one source for that answer, and that is you. And we have these big questions about what is the nature of God and what is the meaning of this existence and what is the meaning of the world. And there is only one source for that answer, and that is you, right? And we forget that, and we start looking for it all over the place. And we listen a lot to the voices of others giving us ideas about maybe you should be this, or maybe you should be that, or this is your responsibility, or this is what you should strive for. This is what you should let go of. And we try our best to do that. And sometimes it feels like we are forcing ourselves to fit into a person who we were not designed to be. The only one who gets to decide the meaning of your soul, the meaning of your existence, is you. You're the only one who can know it. This is why this practice is designed for the individual, right? We do it in a group because we support each other, and that's the way of the Western world, but it's designed to be a personal journey, an individual journey, because the only one who can experience the truth of who you are and what you are and the meaning of all of this is you. You're the only one who can do it, right? So this is the big takeaway. So take a comfortable seat for a moment. We'll just start with that. Let the eyes close. And contemplate, or even ask yourself that in this practice, this day, this stepping onto your mat, are you willing to really look at yourself with completely honest eyes? Are you willing to feel yourself in a completely honest way? And are you willing to look at those moments or those pieces of yourself that you have worked really hard over the days and months and years of your life, that you've tried and tried and tried to make something feel right and it never does? Are you willing to give up? And I'm using that word specifically, because in yoga, we make it sound nice. We say surrender. Are you willing to give up that fight? Are you willing to accept the failure of what was impossible? And are you willing to accept that your freedom comes right alongside your willingness to give up? And if the answer to any of that is no, not willing, no problem. Take a deep breath. That's the point of the practice, is that for today, where is my freedom? Today, what am I agreeing to stay bound to, and what am I agreeing to let go of? Today, how deeply will I know myself? And however deep that is perfect. Don't fight it. You don't have to go anywhere or do anything because I suggest it, because anyone suggests it. You are the one who knows the truth. Don't be afraid to feel it. So this is your practice. Who am I? And can you let yourself drop into just feeling the answer to that question, not thinking it? And don't judge the feelings. One more deep breath so that you don't let yourself get into too much of a story about how well or terribly this exercise is going. Like, can we just start class? Yes. Bring your hands together in front of your heart center. You start from a place that is always a little bit confused and off center. Don't worry about it. Sound of Om, deep breath in. And let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands, please, and then come forward onto hands and knees. And start to cat and cow. So hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Inhale, lengthening the spine, tilting the collarbones up, tailbones up. And then exhaling, curling and rounding, and dropping the head, dropping the tail. Good. And then continue inhaling, lengthening to lift. And exhaling, rounding into bow. Good. So my favorite things to watch on the Olympics is, of course, the gymnastics. Don't skip the gymnastics. But I also like watching the swimming. I like watching the diving. You know, some of those things that people are like, why are you watching diving? I love watching diving. I don't know. Something about it is really hypnotic for me or something. And there's, in the swimming category, right, first of your Olympic stories, is that there's apparently been this rivalry between these two swimmers for like the past year. And they had their, you know, their big race where they were, you know, up against each other. Basically, there was never a thought that anyone else could possibly win this race, but one of the two of them. And it's an American and an Australian. And the American was favored to win, right? Everyone really expected that, you know, she was gonna pull it out. And in the actual race, is the Australian beat her, right? And the response of the American was, she did an amazing job. You know, her response was like, I swam my heart out. I fought every bit of the way, but amazing swim from her. Amazing. They told a little bit of the story of the Australian and how hard, like, her coach had been really using this rivalry to get his swimmer to, you know, train harder and get her head in the right space and all of that. And so there's an interesting moment, right, when you have trained and trained and trained and trained and trained, and the moment comes and someone beats you. And I see this a lot in this Olympics, like you get beaten by a fraction of a second, 1/10 of a point. And can you look at the other person and say, amazing what they did? And say to yourself, amazing what I did. No one lost here. Come back to stillness, please. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, downward facing dog. Right? The effort that you put into something that you love, whether you are driven by that desire to win or you are driven by something else, the effort is never wasted. We have this in our yogic teaching as well. It doesn't matter how far you get or how much you think you have gotten nowhere. The effort matters. Come back to stillness, please, settling the heels. Good. Take your right leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Nice. Bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt. Stack the right hip on top of the left and then circle that knee. So make circles with the hip. Good. Nice. And then lift and open. Pause there. Squeeze that heel in towards your butt. Nice. And then point the knee down towards the floor. Step the right foot between the hands. Lunge. Inhale, both arms to the sky. High lunge. Good. Nice, you guys. Bend your back knee a lot. Pull it forward. So it's like your thighs are both at 90 degrees. So your hip points have to lift up. Back thigh pulls forward. Nice, Joanne. You got it. Good. And then straighten the back thigh again, keeping your hip points just as lifted. Nice. Bend the back knee again. Pull it forward. Squeeze. Good. Lift those hip points. So you're tilting the tail down and then straighten the back thigh. Still trying to lift those hip points. Good. One more time. Bend that back knee. Squeeze it forward. Good. So the weight of your ribs is actually moving slightly back as that thigh pulls forward. So weight towards your heel. Good. Straighten the back thigh, please. Release the hands down to the floor. Nice job. Good. Step your left foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight Parsvottanasana. Use blocks underneath the hands if you need. Good. Right. It's interesting to notice what drives you. Contrast that with, I was watching the synchronized platform diving. Again, there's all sorts of diving in the, yeah, it's amazing, right? So I was watching the men's final from, I guess it was maybe last night. Or no, it would have been from the night before, since I'm a day behind. And the big story was that one of the men on the British from the UK was, this was going to be his last Olympics. He's, been in, I guess, 3 or whatever. He's never won a gold medal, right? He's won other medals, but he's never won gold. This is last Olympics. Take one more breath here. Squeeze your feet towards each other. Pull your hips up and back. Good. And then bend that right knee, please. Slide your left leg back into a longer lunge. Drop the left knee. Come into Anjaneyasana. Use a blanket underneath the knee if you need. Inhale the arms all the way up. Good. Watch that knee is staying centered towards the middle of your foot. So second or third toe. If there's a tendency for the knee to angle in, even more important that you push that inner thigh slightly wide and then feel like you're hugging your outer hip in towards the midline. So it's not enough to just move the knee. You've also got to reorient the hip and then let your pelvis move forward a lot. Move forward a lot and press into that right foot. Feel like you're dragging back on your right heel. Good. One more breath. Lift the heart nice and high. Nice, Joanne. Nice, Lauren. Good, Emily. And then release the hands down to the floor, please. Good. Scoot your left hip back in space. Left hip over the left knee. Take your right leg forward to straight up on the heel. Hanumanasana. Ardha Hanumanasana. Sorry. Good. Again, using blocks if you need. So you're just sort of shifting back and forth between, right, the lunging positions and the hamstring positions. Moving back and forth, front of the body, back of the body. So the big story with this diver is that he had a new partner that he was diving with this year, but that his conversation that he had in front of the camera was that he's really spent a lot of time remembering that there's so much more in his life than just competing. And his words were essentially that when you have that recognition that there's so much more, that it makes that dream, right, less restrictive, is that you actually remember why you're doing what you're doing. You actually have a love for it. Good. So Joanne, you're hanging out in Ardha Hanumanasana. So just drop the back knee and keep the front leg straight. I know I said you were moving back and forth. We're just moving the poses back and forth between the two. But what you were doing looked great. And I'm tempted to make everybody do it now. Good. So just hang out there with the legs straight. There you go. So this thought, right, that when we have a real appreciation for the bigness of our life is that those things that we feel are really that we're driven to do have more meaning, right? We can love them for what they are without being like, oh, it's only good if I get that gold medal. It's only useful if I succeed. It's only this if I have, this specific result. We let go of that. And suddenly he's like, I remembered why I love the sport. I remember why I love what I do. And so he says, it doesn't matter to me now if I win that Olympic medal. Of course I want it. He says, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't happen, right? Are you willing to let go of your suffering, give up on it because you've embraced something else? One more breath. Good. Drag that heel back in, please. Bring the knee forward over the ankle. Lift the back knee up. Good. And then plant the hands. Take your right leg up and back behind you. Down dog split. Good. Bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt. Stack the right hip on top of the left. Open. Good. Keep your left hip lifted nice and wide. Stretch that right leg to straight. The hip is already stacked, but press out through the heel. So keep it all the way up and behind you, Laura. Good. All the way up. There you go. Yep. So an open hip, but a straight leg. Good. And then scoop into your low belly with the leg straight. Turn the toes back down towards the floor. Level your pelvis. Good. And then bring that right knee forward in wide pigeon pose. And yes, I'm staying on the same side forever. There's no left side today. Good. Nice. Make sure that that right knee is wider than your right hip point. So give yourself maybe a little bit more space, a little bit more wideness than usual. Good. And then check out that your left foot is not angling in towards the midline behind you, but it's staying in line with your outer left hip. So maybe scoot your straight leg a little wider to the left. Good. And then let yourself walk forward onto your forearms, onto your elbows, blocks, whatever you'd like to use. Can't hear you, Joanne. You're talking, but I can't hear you. So it came down to, of course, the Chinese and this British pair for the gold medal. And, you know, in diving, it's kind of China always wins, or they win frequently. They're very good at it. And the wonderful feel-good story is, of course, the British pair won. Again, fraction of a point. But isn't it interesting that the first Olympic Games where this diver was like, you know, it doesn't matter to me if I get a gold medal. I want it, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't happen. And there it is. Right? We're told this over and over again, that when we are really open to knowing the fullness of our experiences, that everything that we truly desire will come to us. Not because we tried so freaking hard, but because we're finally open to there being more. We're finally open to receiving everything and not picking and choosing, this is what's right and this is what's wrong. Or this is what I really want, but I don't want this other thing. It's interesting. Go ahead, take one more breath where you are. Then walk yourself back up onto your hands, please. Really press into that right shin so you have activity in that right leg. And then bend your back knee, kick your heel in, reach back, twisting quad stretch. So right hand for the foot or the ankle. Good. Nice, you guys. Pressing into the left hand, lifting the chest as high as you can. Drop that right sit bone under, like you're going to take your right butt cheek to the floor. Good. And then let the foot go, please. Release the hands. Lift that back knee. Take your right leg up and back behind you. One more time. Down dog split. Good. And then release that foot down to the floor. Downward facing dog. Slide forward to plank pose. Upward push up. Good. Lower down slow. Coming through knees first if you need. Rise up cobra. Lift up head, neck, and chest. Notice that your legs maybe feel like they belong to two different people because you've been doing two different things. Good. Exhale, release, press back up to hands and knees and come back child's pose, knees nice and wide. Good. Dropping your hips to your heels. Nice. Again, spread your toes wide, press into the front of your shins, the front of your feet. And as you press down, curl into your low belly just a little bit. So you're really kind of wrapping your sit bones down and under, really extending, expanding through the lower back. So it's like a curling in your low belly to try and take your hips deeper towards your heels as you press your shins into the floor. Good. One more breath. Relax through your upper shoulders. Nice. And then walk yourself back up onto hands and knees, please. Come back downward facing dog. Good. And then take the left leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Good. Bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, stack the left hip on top of the right, circle the knee. So again, warming up the hip. Good. Keep drawing the hands, the arms up into the shoulder socket as you're doing that. So you're not just collapsing onto your arms and wiggling around through your pelvis, but you're actually staying with a really steady down dog with your upper body. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Lift and open that hip, squeeze the heel in towards your butt. So again, you get this sensation of stretching through the quad. Good. And then point the knee at the floor, step the left foot between the hands, lunge. And then inhale both arms to the sky, high lunge. Check out that your feet are as wide as your hips. If you have no idea, right? Put hands right at the front of your hip points so that you can see how wide are my hips and check out if your feet are that wide. Good. Bend your back knee a lot. As the knee bends, pull the thigh forward, lift your hip points up off of that front thigh. So it's like you're lifting the front of your pelvis, dropping through the back. Good. Straighten the back thigh again, trying to keep that lift of your hip points. Good. Bend the back knee again. Watch that your front knee is still staying just a little bit wide. Good. Pull that back thigh forward. Nice. And then stretch that leg all the way back and up. And then one more time, bend that back knee, pull it forward, squeeze, lift your hip points. Good. Get taller. I know this is a lot of leg work. So the lower you get, it can feel like you get heavier. Pull up through your side waist. Good. Stretch the back thigh high. Good. Release the hands to the floor. Nice job. Step the right foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight Parsvottanasana. Good. Again, using blocks if you need. Nice, you guys. The shift to gymnastics. There are two stories, right? In the men's gymnastics, one of the competitors was actively competing with an injury. To the point where they actually said, they're like, well, technically I haven't been cleared by, doctors to be doing what I'm doing. He's like, but I'm going to do it anyway. Right. And you could see like in the floor tumbling routines that he's landing basically on one foot because the other one, he's got like a serious Achilles tendon thing going on. So he literally can't land on it or is in danger of like seriously injuring himself. Competed anyway. Right. Did what he felt he had to do. Take one more breath, squeezing the feet towards each other, lift the hips. And certainly I've had that experience, being a dancer or performer is you perform, right? You do what you have to do, even if your ankles are killing you or your feet are killing you or, something's about to burst, you go on. Good. Bend that front knee, please. Slide that right leg back into a longer lunge. Drop that back knee. Use a blanket if you'd like. Anjaneyasana, inhale both arms up to the sky. I'm not saying that's the right way to do things. I'm just saying that's the way that many of us do it, whether you're a performer or not. How often have we been told, power through? How often have we been told, no pain, no gain? How often have we been told, don't give up, don't ever give up, keep going? Even at your worst, keep going. Give it all you've got for the people who love you or the people who need you. One more breath, heart to the sky. Really let your pelvis go deep. Watch your knee, Laura, goes a little wider. Good. Release the hands down to the floor, please. Move your right hip back in space so it's just in line with your right knee. Take your left leg forward to straight. Come up on the heel, Ardha Hanumanasana. Good. Again, using blocks if you need. Right. And there is something in that thought, right? That we are able to do incredible things when we're sure that we can't. That we're able to push past a lot of boundaries that maybe we were convinced were impossible to get past. Absolutely. Perseverance is amazing. Resilience is amazing. Willingness to put up with pain for the benefit of others or yourself. We call that tapasya, right? Willing to put up with what is uncomfortable if it's going to create openness later. But how often have you pushed yourself past the point where it felt meaningful to do it? Or you just got used to things being painful and so you just stopped trying to get out of it? Where you said, oh, if somebody else needs me to keep doing this, I guess I'll keep doing it, even though it keeps me and them stuck in this painful place. Right? Two sides to everything. That's the nature of our world. Good. One more breath. Pull those hips up and back. Soften the back of the shoulders again. Yeah, there you go. Good. And then drag that heel back, please. Come back to the lunge, bringing the knee forward. Lift the back knee up. And then take your left leg up and back, down dog split. Good. Bend the knee again. Kick your heel in towards your butt. Stack the left hip on top of the right. So again, open. And as you do, squeeze that right heel in towards the midline. So you have this stabilizing energy of that heel pulling in and the opening, extending energy of that knee lifting up. And then keep the hip open, straighten the leg, press out through the heel. Good. Like it's extending from the middle of your abdomen, not just from the knee to the ankle. Good. And then scoop your belly, turn your toes to face down, again, as though it's originating from that connection deep in your abdomen, higher than your hip points, not just from the thigh down to the ankle. Good. And then bring that knee forward in wide pigeon pose. Knee goes a little wider than your hip points, so all the way out to your left wrist. Good. And then right foot, right knee maybe goes a little wider to the right because often we set ourselves too narrow. Good. And then once you've set yourself up well, walk the hands forward, come to rest on your elbows, forearms, blocks, whatever you need. All right. Fast forward to the women's gymnastics. We haven't heard her name. Simone Biles is considered at the moment to be one of possibly the most talented female gymnasts of US gymnasts of all time, right? That she's incredibly talented. She's, doing things that nobody else out there is doing. And she had a bad run on one of her events and she took herself out of the team competition. She said, I'm not going to compete. Said, I have to look out for my physical and mental health. And so she wasn't that she was injured that she couldn't walk or something like that, but she said, I should not be competing right now. Took herself out. A lot of backlash. A lot of people saying that she quit. She gave up. Betrayed everybody, right? You were supposed to go out and win for us. What the heck? This is where we get to that place of nobody gets to decide the meaning of your existence except you. Right? Contrast to that male gymnast that said, I know I'm broken, but I'm going to compete anyway. It's what he felt he needed to do. Take it to another person who says, I know that I am mentally and maybe physically not fit to do what's best for me or for my team, so I won't. Which is the better choice, the right choice? There is no right choice, exactly. There is a choice that you make to feel freedom in yourself in the moment. But this concept that somehow there is this defined rightness of what you should be, is that's what we're asked to let go of. So when I hear that in the headlines a lot right now, is like, oh, she gave up. I'm like, good, something should be given up on. Right? Can you give up on your suffering? Give up on the things that, again, are impossible for you to change or make different just because you try really hard. I hope that you give up on those things. And yes, we can say you're surrendering to something else, but being okay with that concept of I just give up, I stop my energy flow to it. That's a powerful place. Deciding I will not participate in these structures that are painful to me. Knowingly participate in these structures that are painful to me, these patterns that are painful for me. It's a powerful place. So yes, on a deep level, learning to surrender is beautiful. Being willing to just plain give up when something is actively creating pain in your life, just as powerful. So my suggestion is don't run away from those words. Be willing to give up. Simply withdraw the energy that is feeding the relationships, the patterns, the activities that maybe you're only doing because you're really convinced that someone else needs you to. They'll be so disappointed. They'll be so betrayed. They'll survive. So will you. One more deep breath. I'm not saying those choices are easy either. Giving up is not always easy. Rarely is. Walk yourself back up onto your hands. Good. Bend the back knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, reach back with the left hand for the foot or the ankle, so a twisting quad stretch. Good. So Marlene, since you're just coming back, maybe don't go straight for the twisting quad stretch and pigeon because you haven't really warmed up. So maybe do a little down dog. Good. You'll meet us back there. Good. And then slowly release that foot, please. Take the hands back to the floor, lift your back knee, and then one more time, left leg up and back, down dog split. Good. And then step that foot down to the floor, downward facing dog, slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Good. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need, all the way to your belly. Rise up, cobra, point the toes, lift head, neck, and chest. Good. And then exhale, release, please. Again, pressing up to hands and knees, come back to child's pose. Good. Other really fun Olympic moments. The German gymnastics team decided to wear full-length leotards or unitards this year. So legs and arms covered in protest of the concept that, female athletes should have to wear attire that is uncomfortable for them or that feels sexualized. And the Norwegian beach volleyball team did a similar thing where in protest, they wore bike shorts instead of bikini bottoms. They got fined. And they said, we don't care. We don't think women should have to wear this. They're just interesting moments, right? What are you willing to just give up on? Don't need to feed this. Walk your torso to the right, please, over the right thigh. Right, so in that quest, right, that yoga quest to understand who we are and to find the meaning of this embodiment, the meaning of our relationships, come back to center and go to your left. That we are always in that position of saying that if you are going to be attached to something, you're feeding it energy, whether it is conscious or subconscious, as you're feeding it. And that's the attachment. It's like, vines growing and intertwining and wrapping all around. And before you know it, is that your concept of yourself is no longer separable from that act or from that pattern or from that thought. So we can't possibly let it go. Come back to center. And that's where we struggle, right? In yoga, we're told, well, let go, let go, let go. And we're like, I can't. What are you talking about? So how about this? Give up. Just give up on that thought. Move on to something else. Give up on that pattern. Nothing else there. Come back up onto hands and knees. That feeling of finality is why I'm using the word, right? Instead of surrender that feels very, whatever it feels like. Give up. Nothing left. Downward facing dog. Try that finality with yourself of there's no turning back. I'm simply moving in a different direction. Right leg up and back behind you, down dog split. And I'm not saying it's going to work every time, right? As you'll say, yeah, I give up, and you'll be right back at it the next day. Step the right foot forward between the hands, but at least you'll catch yourself, right? Inhale the arms up to the sky, high lunge. Good. And then take your torso forward, please. Lean forward, step up to warrior three, please. Left thigh parallels the floor. Good, keeping the chest lifted. Flex that foot a lot. So Lauren, flex that foot, flex that foot, flex that foot. Good. Feel as though you're squeezing your ankles towards each other, even though your thighs are pulling apart. Nice. And then bend your left knee, kick your heel. That's the leg in the air. Kick your heel in towards your butt. Remember, you're staying wide with your thighs. Good. Lift that heel a little higher. Lift your heart a little higher, like you're coming into dancer pose, but you're not reaching back for the foot. Well, for fun, if you want to reach back for the foot, see if you can go for it. Reach that right hand back for the foot. Sorry, left hand, because it's your left knee that's bent. You almost had it, Laura. Good, beautiful. And then slowly release, coming all the way back up to stand, swinging that left knee forward in front of you. Bring it up in towards your chest. Squeeze it in. Good. And then before you put it down, push your butt back, stretch your arms to the sky, stretch your left heel straight in front of you. So straight in the leg, parallel to the floor. Good. And again, pull those thighs apart. Top of your right thigh pulls up and back and squeeze into above your hip points, navel in and up, below your navel in and up. That's it. Good. And then release that foot down to the floor. Bend both knees, drop into chair. Good. Just for the release. Excellent. And then hands to the floor, please. Straighten your legs and bow. Nice. Separate your feet as wide as your mat. Turn your toes out 45 degrees, both feet. Bend your knees, come into squat. Good. Right hand touches down inside right heel, left arm to the sky, twist. Good. Keep equal weight on your feet. Yeah. Good. And then release and switch. Left arm down inside the left foot, right arm to the sky. Good. Chest wide. Good. Release that hand to the floor, please. Planting both hands. Good. Lift your butt just a little higher. Come up on the tippy toes of your feet. Good. And then really round into your back like you're doing cat. Good. And then let your weight slide forward. Again, I don't care if your feet leave the floor today, but I want you to round your back like crazy, like you're coming into crow. Move your shoulders forward so that your elbows are on top of your wrists, and keep moving forward until you find that. And then see what it feels like to squeeze those knees up towards your armpits. So everything is just the curling and the squeezing, and finding that weight on your hands. And then maybe you use the thighs to squeeze your heels up towards your butt. So again, it's all a lot of abdominal work. Nice, Laura. Good. But I want you to find the position first instead of trying to lift the feet and then find it. Nice. Good. Just look slightly forward, Marlene, so that you can stay a little bit more lifted. There you go. And then release the feet to the floor. Nice job. Step back to downward facing dog. Good. Whether you came into crow or not, great job. Good. Slide forward, plank pose, upward push up. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Rise up cobra, lift head, neck, and chest. Good. Downward facing dog. Nice. Good. Left leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Step that foot forward between the hands, lunge. Take both arms to the sky, high lunge. Good. Then lean yourself forward, torso forward, send your weight forward onto that left foot. So again, something is supporting you. And then from below your belly button, lift your hips up towards the sky as you come into warrior three. Good. So it's not just the forward and back momentum that's moving you, but it's that pressing down into the standing heel. Nice. And then bend your right knee, kick your heel in towards your butt. Lift that thigh higher, lift your chest higher, again, like you're coming into dancer pose. And as you rise up into that back bend, maybe you reach back, right hand for the foot or the ankle. Good, or nice, Laura, you got both hands. Excellent, stay steady on that standing leg. Good, and then go ahead and slowly release. Bring that right knee forward in front of you. So if you lost it, bring the right knee up in towards your chest, standing on your left leg, squeeze it in. Good, and then top of your left thigh pulls up and back, stretch your arms up to the sky, stretch your right heel forward, so a straight leg, parallel to the floor, no hands. Pull the top of your left thigh up and back. Draw that low place below your belly button, in and up. It's like you're connecting your thigh muscle up to your lower belly. Do that. You gotta push your butt back. Good, and then release that foot back down to the floor, bend both knees, drop back into chair. I know. And that was a really annoying one. And then release the hands to the floor, straighten the legs and bow. Good, separate your feet as wide as your mat. Turn your toes out 45 degrees, both feet, bend your knees, come down, squat. Good. Right hand to the floor, left arm to the sky, take your twist. Optional to go into a bind here if you'd like. Turn your left palm to face back, reach around for that outer right hip, and then slide your right shoulder forward inside that knee a little lower, and then take that arm in front of your shin. So not underneath, but in front of your shin, wrap it around. Good, you gotta like turn your elbow backwards. You got it. And you're looking open to the left. Nice. And then release, please, come back to center. Plant your hands, try another crow pose if you'd like, or at least preparation, where you're lifting your butt a little higher. You can even bring the feet a little closer if that makes sense. Good, plant the hands at least shoulder width apart. And then let your weight come forward with the elbows bent. And feel that drawing the arm bones up into the shoulders, curl into your back a lot. Keep your butt lifted as high as your shoulders. And then play with your weight coming forward. Gaze at your fingertips or slightly forward of that. And maybe, again, you squeeze those legs in and up, and not just squeezing your heels up, not just squeezing your knees, but pull your thigh bones up and into your hip socket. Good. Nice, Emily. And then release the feet down to the floor, please. Nice job. Good. Back to your squat pose. So separate the feet again. Nice. Left hand down inside the left foot. Take your right arm up to the sky. It would be silly to have you do a twist on only one side. And if you want to take that bind, turn the right palm to face back, reach around for the outer left hip, slide that left shoulder inside the left knee, maybe reach around through the front of your shin, around the front of your shin, looking open to the right. Good. And again, if the bind doesn't make any sense, don't do it. Give up on that. Good. And then slowly release, please. Hands come back to the floor. Nice. Straighten the legs, turning the toes forward. Step back to downward facing dog. Good, and then come forward to plank pose, upward push up, lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Then on your belly, rise up into cobra first, lift head, neck, and chest. Good, and then release back onto your belly, please. And then bend both knees, kick your heels in towards your butt, reach back for the feet or the ankles if that's possible. If it's not, keep the knees bent, plant the hands alongside your ribs. Good, if you're holding the feet, kick back into your hands, so you have that pressure or you have that resistance. Feel the arm bones pulling up and in towards your chest, so almost like you're keeping a little bend in your elbows. Good, draw the lowest place of your navel in and up. Good, lift those hip points forward and then lift your thighs, lift your chest, upward bow. Good. You really should just call it bow pose, but you know, upward bow sounds good. Nice. Kick those feet into your hands. Feel the thigh bones pulling up and into your hip socket, but your tailbone lengthening. One more breath. Lift everything up. Nice, Joanne. Good, Laura. Nice, Lauren. And then release, please. Good job, you guys. Beautiful. Flip over onto your backs. Good. Then draw the right knee in towards your chest, please. Squeeze it in. Good. Hold behind the thigh. Keep your left knee bent for the moment and stretch that right leg all the way up towards the sky. So hamstring stretch. Good. And as you're pressing that heel up, pressing your thigh into your hands, try and bring your tailbone down towards the floor. So again, it's like you're angling your pelvis. So the front of the pelvis moves away from the belly. This is why I said to keep the left knee bent, because you're going to have more availability with the other knee bent. Good. So Marlene, just put your left foot flat on the floor with the knee bent. There you go. And the right leg up. You got it. Yep. Hold behind the thigh. Good. One more breath, you guys. Angle the tailbone down towards the floor. Nice. And then bend that right knee out wide to the right, half happy baby, reaching the hand for the ankle or the instep. Elbow should be inside the knee. That's the easiest way to hold. Good. And so again, wherever that knee is going towards, you want that knee to be pressing just a little wider than your shoulder and your ribs, but your heel slightly in. So again, the angle on the leg is a really easeful one, even if the actual position does not feel like it's super comfortable. And then try and bring your tailbone back down towards the floor. So the top of that left thigh that you can feel tilting up here, even though the right hip is the one doing all the work, try and bring that back down towards the floor. And draw that left thigh up and in. Good. Notice how much you are trying to pull the knee towards the floor and how much you are actually trying to press the foot up into your hand. And if there's actually any squeezing going on in your hip, if there's not, see if you can actually feel that feeling of squeezing the leg with no hand. So go ahead, release the hand out to the side and hold your half happy baby. Good. And see what happens. Can you draw that knee a little bit deeper without the use of your hand? Good. Nice job. And then squeeze the knee all the way straight in towards your chest. Hug. Good. And then step that right foot down to the floor, please. Knee bent. Bring your left heel, or sorry, not left heel, left knee in. Squeeze. And hold behind the thigh. Extend the heel up towards the ceiling. Good. Again, keeping the right knee bent so that you can really work through taking the tailbone, the lowest part of the pelvis, down towards the floor as you take that hamstring stretch. Good. Keep reaching up through the heel. So again, the underside of the heel or the back of the ankle gets stretched, calf gets stretched. But you're not using that action, right? Just to pull on the back of the leg as you're making as much space as you can. Tilt that pelvis, tailbone towards the floor. Press the thigh against your hands. Good. Let it go to the place where your knee can actually be straight, not to how far can I pull it in and then struggle to straighten my knee. Right? How we define what matters to us in our practice is a reflection of how we define what matters to us in the rest of our life too. Guaranteed. So on the mat, where it's suggested to pay attention to the way that your energy tends to move, where your mind wants to grab things, where it wants to resist, where it wants to throw something away, where it wants to refuse to participate, where it wants to give up, where maybe it shouldn't, and where it refuses to give up when it absolutely should. Right? So our awareness that we build beyond that pattern of thinking, right? It's the purpose of the practice so that we can notice where we can just give up. No other conversation necessary. Good. Bend that left knee, please. Take it wide into half happy baby, reaching for the ankle or the foot. Again, keeping the elbow inside the knee. Good. My suggestion is to keep that right foot flat to the floor with the knee bent, because again, you have the best availability to your pelvis in that position. So try to find your tailbone finding its way down towards the floor. It's like you're trying to take your hip points away from your belly, and you're trying to let that right thigh bone slide up and in. So instead of letting it fall out to the side or letting it curl up, drop it down. I know if you're like, I can't, do the best you can. My daughter really doesn't want to do anything now. The way she tells me is she doesn't say, I don't want to do it. She says, I couldn't, I can't. She doesn't say, I don't want to. She says, I can't, I couldn't. She still gets I and you confused. So really more often it's, you couldn't. I'm like, I couldn't? Yeah. So how much is your brain doing that, right? No possibility that I could let go of this thing that is painful. No possibility that I could let go of the way that I always define myself, because there might be something more. So keep the knee where it is, stretch that left arm out to the side and hold the pose, hold the position with no hand, right? Feeling the actual energy of that outer hip squeezing in, drawing the knee down, drawing the thigh bone in. Good, keeping the heel up. Good, and then bring that knee all the way back in towards your chest, squeeze it in. And then place that left foot down to the floor. So both feet are hips width apart, preparing for bridge pose. Set the arms either into robot arms or arms straight alongside you, palms facing down, either one. But take yourself into where the top of the shoulder ridge is pressing down, and you feel that hug of like you're trying to wrap your shoulder blades, and below your shoulder blades, you're trying to wrap all of those muscles in towards the middle of your spine. Good, and then press into your feet, drag your butt towards your heels. And then from your armpits, start to rise up and lift the hips as well. But have it really be about that. I'm taking the two sides of my back body and I'm wrapping it in towards that center, right? I'm trying to squeeze it in, and then that's what lifts me up. And the lift is accentuated by how much I am drawing down into the top ridge of my shoulders, how much I'm pushing down into my upper arms. I'm pressing down into my feet, but not with the purpose of pushing my butt to the sky. So don't let your knees go wide. Keep them right in line with your ankles. And again, can you get that sensation almost where you're trying to tilt your tailbone down towards the floor here so that the tops of your thighs soften, front of your thighs soften. Good. One more breath. Pull your sternum up towards your chin and pull your tail towards your heels. And figure out which one wins in your pose, right? Which way are you better at pulling? And then release the hips all the way down to the floor, please. Nice. Stretch both legs up to the sky. Good. Flex your feet. Take your legs nice and wide out into a straddle. No hands. Good. Yeah, no hands. And then squeeze the thighs together. Squeeze the heels together all the way back up towards the ceiling. Good, and then stretch them out wide again, not just dropping them wide, but reaching wide. So continue to extend, and as you extend, draw the low belly in so you keep your low back anchored to the floor. Thigh bones pulling up and in, but heels extending out. And then squeeze your legs all the way back up. Good, and then one more time, take the legs nice and wide. Good, again, reaching out through the heels. Nice. And then bring them all the way back up. Beautiful. Bend the knees in towards your chest, please. Good. Start to roll forward and back on your spine. You can squeeze your knees, use your hands. Yep. Bring yourself all the way up to sit. And come to sit either cross-legged or Baddha Konasana, your choice. Stretch your arms out wide, letter T. Take your right arm over top of the left in front of your chest. Wrap the forearms for eagle. Good. Do little circles with the elbows. Nice. And trying to keep this feeling of shoulders over your hips so you're not letting your whole body go crazy, but you're actually keeping the spine nice and steady and the shoulders move around that steady point. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Lift the elbows just a little bit higher. Lengthen through your throat. And then exhale, release. Stretch the arms out wide. Good. And do the other side. Take the left arm over top of the right. Squeezing the forearms together. Rotating the elbows, rotating the shoulders. Good. I know it's cute to watch. Some of you have really slow, really mindful circles, and some of you are just going. And some of you are like, I don't even know what I'm doing. You're just barely moving at all. Good. Come back to stillness. Lift your elbows a little higher. Good. And then release, please, stretching the arms out and wide. Let's not take for granted just the position of Garudasana arms is a ridiculous accomplishment for some people. So good job. Good. Release your hands, please. And then go ahead, take a forward fold wherever you are. If you're cross-legged, that's great. Stay there. If you're Baddha Konasana, stay there. It's forward fold just for a moment, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the upper back. Good. And then walk yourself all the way back up, please. Beautiful. Roll forward onto hands and knees. Come on down to your forearms for a moment. Interlacing your fingers, making a little cup with the hand. So one pinky inside, pressing down to the forearms, same way that you did for bridge, the same concept. As I press down, I have this feeling of lift and openness through my chest. So tuck your toes, lift your hips, come into dolphin pose, please. Good. Then start to walk the feet forward any amount, letting your head hang in line with your spine. Good. Just getting that feeling of pressing down into the forearms and feeling the lift of your arm bones pulling up into your chest as you bring your hips higher over the shoulders. Good. Navel in, front ribs press into back ribs. And maybe you play with bringing one knee in towards your chest here, like you're going to go into headstand. Good. Your head can be touching the floor or not. And then release that foot down to the floor. Try the other knee. So again, whatever your instinct is that this is my stronger side, try both. And then release that foot. Good. Emily, your elbows are a little too wide. And then walk your feet back, please. Drop the knees to the floor, child's pose. Good, you guys. Okay. And then walk yourself back up. So my suggestion for you, and again, there are lots of opportunities to, reject what I'm going to say, is I'd like for you to try a variation of headstand if that's available to you. So if you have a wall space and you can do headstand, my suggestion is that if you are fairly comfortable in headstand, is that to attempt a tripod headstand, right? And so that is where your head is on the floor, your hands are more in that chaturanga position, or the way that you would even set up for crow. So your hands are creating the two bottom points of the triangle, your head is at the top, but your palms are flat, your elbows are bent over top of your wrists. So if you want to try that tripod headstand, it's a little bit more challenging for a lot of people. So Emily, your head has to come a lot further forward if you're going to do that. So you can try that. And if you are happy in tripod headstand, you're pretty comfortable in that, is where I'd like for you to play, is that either once you get into the headstand or even coming into the headstand is to attempt to let your legs come out wide to a straddle, hold the pose, right? So headstand in whatever variation that you'd like. If you're watching what Laura's doing, that's a tripod headstand. What Emily is doing is a tripod headstand. So it's palms flat, elbows bent, and the head is in front of you. You should be able to, when you place your head down, see the tips of your fingers in tripod headstand. So if you can't see them, then you are too far, hands are too close to your head. If headstand is not an option today, shoulder stand is beautiful. Or you can go back to a headstand preparation, like in dolphin. But my suggestion is some variation of headstand if that is available, and playing with trying to let your legs go wide into a straddle. That is the thought, or even knees bent into like a frog position if a straight leg is a little challenging. If you're in shoulder stand, it's really fun to wrap the legs into eagle pose upside down. So you could try that straddle, you could try the wrapping. So Lauren, you just have to bend your knees then. So it's like a true eagle pose. There you go. And then press your shins together. With the knees bent though. Yep. Gets more and more awkward, right? Good. So I want you to play in your upside down. That's my point. And if you've done a little bit of headstand and you want to go into shoulder stand, you're certainly welcome to transition to that. Or if you're done and you just want to put a block underneath your seat, go for that. But if you're fooling around with eagle legs in shoulder stand, make sure you try both sides. Good. That was really nice, Emily. I know it's a lot of work. Just imagine, right, what used to be an exercise in acrobatics classes. You would start in tripod headstand, and then you would work to be able to go straight from that into straightening your arms into a handstand. So like a complete press up into handstand. Yeah, I used to be able to do that, believe it or not. Not important to be able to do that. I'm just saying. There are many things that are possible. Good. When you've found a leg variation and you've played a little bit in your inversion, feel free to come back to what feels like the neutral position, maybe coming into plow if you're in shoulder stand. Again, recognizing when it's time to give up, to stop putting energy into trying to hold something that is painful, or where maybe you are going to create pain for yourself for some abstract reason that maybe is not as meaningful as you think. So hand in hand, we have this knowledge in yoga that the only way the truth can be understood, can be seen, is through you. There is no other place to find it. And at the same time, that our ability to see what is true is concurrent with or connected to our ability to give up on what is not true, to give up on what does not work, on what creates pain, what creates our suffering. It's often how invested we are in continuing to feed those things that are painful, restrictive. So give up on it. Cut off that energy flow. We call this non-attachment. We don't have that grip. Things happen, but we don't grip. Take one more breath where you are, and then slowly begin to release your inversion. If you're in headstand, come on down. If you're in shoulder stand, roll down the spine consciously, knees in towards your chest as your hips come low. Keep your navel engaged all the way until your hips and feet can find the floor. And then pause for a moment with your feet flat and your knees bent. Find your breath. Don't run from upside down to the next thing. And take your right ankle over your left thigh. When you feel ready, lift your left shin parallel to the floor, reach through to hold the legs or not, and let the legs do their thing. Sometimes holding the leg means that we have to get a lot of shoulder stuff involved. So if that's the case, maybe let the legs do their thing and let your shoulders relax. So I like these different faces from the Olympics, giving these different versions of what it means to be an Olympic athlete, or what it means to win, what it means to lose, what it means to give up. I believe it was Simone Biles that in some of her comments about, her decision, and she says, at the end of the day, athletes are just people. Whether we're performing at this, incredible height of achievement or not, she says, we're just people. And it's ridiculous, right? I don't think she said this, but I'm saying, and it's ridiculous that for any person that we should assume what the meaning of their experience should be. Switch the legs, please, bringing the left ankle on top of the right thigh. And again, reaching through to hold. And so what would happen if, instead of holding each other to these expectations that you're supposed to be this, and that means that I agree to be this other thing, and as long as nobody ever changes, we all just maintain those attachments, those expectations, is we will all continue to suffer together. Trying to find our way out, when finding your way out often begins with that moment that says, I give up. I give up on feeding this. I give up on continuing this way. Make sure you have equal weight on both sides of your sacrum, please, right and left side. Usually in this position, you got to take more weight onto the right side because that is the knee that's bending in towards the chest. I see you talking, Joanne, but I can't hear you. Yeah, it was totally you that would, you were definitely off. Good, so you're still in the same position. I just wanted there to be a balance on the legs. There you go, so just shift your weight more to the right. There you go, yep. So no one and nothing gets to define for you who you are or what the meaning of your life is. And as you start to give up on certain things, certain ideas, those attachments, as they disappear, we start to feel that there's so much more. And in that so much more, everything that we already are comes clear to us, comes to us. These are the teachings of yoga, that you already know the answer to who you are and no one else does. So who the heck are you asking? Come all the way out, please, bringing both feet down to the floor. Again, plant the feet, one more bridge pose, set the arms, either robot arms or straight. And then pressing into the feet, please. Again, like that feeling of drawing everything in towards the spine and then rising up, press into the top ridge of your shoulders, lift the chest, lift your spine, and the hips come up because you're lifting your spine. Good. Sternum moves up towards your chin, butt moves towards your heels. Try and make them equal. Nice. Powerful phrase, I give up. One more breath. And then slowly release, please. Taking the hips back down to the floor, feeling as though all of that squeezing that you just did to get into the pose now relaxes into that widening. Like your back, your shoulders continue to just get wide and wide and wide on the floor. Good. And then stretch the left leg straight out in front of you. Draw the right knee in towards your chest. Come into a spinal twist, bringing the knee across the body. And stretching out through the right arm, or maybe taking that arm over the ear. Again, if the shoulder is very high up off the floor, maybe stretch it up. Good. And pull that knee just a little higher so that it's in line with your hip. There you go. Nice. One more breath, like you're trying to really drop through that right side rib cage. Good. And then slowly release, coming back towards center, squeezing the right knee in towards your chest. Good. Place that leg down to the floor, straighten it down to the floor, bring the left knee in. Come into spinal twist, cross the body, reaching out through that left arm or up alongside your ear. Again, bringing that left knee slightly higher so it's in line with your hip. And maybe even feeling again like you're trying to push backwards through your sit bone so that thigh bone again is pulling in, like you're connecting the thigh up into your lower abdomen. I hate to break it to you, but it is connected to your lower abdomen. But if you feel it here, it actually brings a little bit more relief to your lower back. And then you're relaxing through that left side rib cage. And then bring yourself slowly back towards center, please, squeezing the left knee in towards your chest. Good. And then send that leg down towards the floor, please. Good. Stretch both arms alongside your torso, palms facing down. Legs are straight. Squeeze the legs together, please. Point your toes. Draw your low rib cage navel and float your feet up about 6 inches up off the floor, just a couple inches. And then lift up head, neck, and chest. Look at your belly button and float the arms up as well. Good. They call this stretch pose in Kundalini. It's called boat pose, right? Full boat in yoga. Keep the feet low. Keep the feet low, but squeeze the legs together. Again, that drawing of the front body into the back body, hugging everything in, and you're still breathing. You can always bend the knees. One more breath. And then slowly release. Good. The idea is you squeeze everything, and then when you release, really release. Give up on it. Let it go. Good. And then go ahead and start to separate the feet, please, letting the feet drop open, arms alongside you, palms facing up. Place yourself in Shavasana. Don't just assume that wherever you have collapsed is Shavasana. Place yourself. And come back to that contemplation, the question, who am I? What is the meaning of this life? And am I willing to give up on what is not the truth, on what is not really me? Am I willing to see myself through honest eyes? Feel the answer, don't think it. Very gently bring the awareness back to your breath. Letting the body begin to stretch and move, whatever ways serve it well. And as you're ready, draw the knees in towards the chest. Roll to your right side. And take a moment before you begin to push the floor away. Come back to an upright seated position. And bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm, maybe with a feeling of a little bit more ease than at the beginning, maybe just as confused. Either one, not a problem. Don't worry about it. But to remember that this practice is an individual journey. It's an individual experience of answering that question, who am I and what is the meaning of this life that I am in? And no one can give it to you. So maybe give up on looking for it outside of yourself. And maybe give up on all of those places where you are perfectly aware that what you are doing is creating or sustaining harm for you or someone else. Right? That the power that we have in giving up, where we simply release our attachment or we stop feeding energy into one place, means that we become open to other places. And as we become more open, more honest, then everything that we really are just comes to us. Everything that we really desire comes to us. You don't have to fight so hard. Teaching of yoga is you don't have to fight so hard. That's what it means to surrender. I don't fight, I get carried. But there will be moments when, yeah, you're going to walk on that injured foot and you're not going to let it go. And there's going to be those moments where you see someone surpass you, and I hope you say, great for them, I'm glad. And I'm also so proud of me for where I am. And there's going to be those moments when you really do say, nope, I cannot do this. And you walk away, and that's a victory. So everything that you do, find yourself in it. But don't try to pretend that the things that you do are what make you who you are. So no one, nothing gets to define your reality, gets to define who and what you are but you. Go deep with that. We'll close with the sound of Om, deep breath. And sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. I recommend watching the Olympics if you've got nothing to do. It's a fun time. Just keep your eyes open. I think this Friday is Cookies and Stories with Neil, if you're interested in that. And then Cheryl also has a workshop about losing your inhibitions coming up on the 1st. So if you're interested in that, that's going to be at her house. Make sure you sign up for it and get all the details. I'm going to make this class in person hybrid pretty soon. So if you're excited about that, keep your eyes on the emails. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Veronica.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.